and it is with great joy that I introduce to you Bonnie Newman. I've been lucky to call Bonnie a friend for over 4 decades, and during that time, I have relied on Bonnie's wise counsel, I have delighted in her humor, and I love her magnanimous heart. In the 4 decades that I've known Bonnie, we have never had a conversation that's been inconsequential. She has a way of directing our attention to the things that we wouldn't even have thought about, looked for, or even imagined possible. She is one of the most imaginative and down-to-earth persons that I know. She's living proof of the American dream, the granddaughter of a Lawrence mill worker who went on to lead the University of New Hampshire, serve as the executive dean to Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and serve our country as assistant to the President of the United States. For all of her many accomplishments, and I have only named a few, Bonnie is one of the humblest and kindest persons I know. Please join me in giving Bonnie a very warm New Hampshire welcome.
There has never been a moment of doubt in my mind since moving to New Hampshire in 1969 that I was in love with the Granite State. I came here to be the Assistant Dean of Students at the University of New Hampshire. Admittedly, I've led a very eclectic life. I have had years working at the university level, both at the University of New Hampshire and elsewhere, working with students. And then I was fortunate to be in government, working both for a member of Congress and for 2 presidents of the United States. There was a point in time when most certainly I was the only woman in the room. I was the first woman and certainly the youngest person to be a major officer at the university at the time. I was often in awe of where I found myself. And probably the most poignant of those moments was at the inauguration of President George Herbert Walker Bush, for whom I worked. And I was privileged in serving President Bush to be able to not only attend his inaugural, but to be on the platform of the west side of the United States Capitol. And I was seated just several rows behind the president. I was suddenly struck by how did this happen and what would my grandmother have thought. Only in America could this happen, that the granddaughter of an Irish-American immigrant who worked in the mills of Lawrence and had minimal formal education would be seated behind a president of the United States. I registered as a Republican here in New Hampshire first because I was inspired by a great man, Walter Peterson, about John Lynch, and why I stepped forward to support his candidacy is a matter of the public good, which is very important to me, and person over party. It caught a lot of folks, I expect, off guard that I was willing to be public in my support, but I never intended to be shy about supporting an extraordinary individual, Democrat or Republican. There are a lot of little girls out there that are going to make people like the late Madeleine Albright, Margaret Thatcher, so many others proud of the work that they will do. And that's what the New Hampshire Women's Foundation does. And I hope many little girls and others, boys and girls, will follow in your footsteps.